Hello and welcome to Lamplighter. Today is day 17 of our quest to read through the entire Bible in a year. I am so glad you have continued to join me in this quest. Today's story continues to unfold with the family of Jacob, and primarily we are going to begin to start focusing on one of Jacob's sons by the name of Joseph. Now, yesterday we read a long list of genealogies and we struggled to fight our way through that, trying to pronounce names and wondering why in the world this genealogy was even there in the first place. Well, today the story continues to unfold, and in just a few minutes, we'll talk about part of that genealogical history and why it's important. But first, let's talk about Joseph. Joseph, we're told, is a favorite son of Jacob. Now, why is that? We've already seen that favoritism has caused some early problems, particularly with Jacob himself and his brother Esau and the relationship they had with their father and mother, Isaac and Rebekah. Jacob has a favorite son, Joseph, and we're told that it's because Joseph was born to him in his old age. Probably we can assume that that also means that Joseph is a favorite because he is born to Rachel, and Rachel clearly was Jacob's favorite wife. Because Joseph is Jacob's favorite, Jacob gives Joseph something that he doesn't give to the other sons. He gives Joseph a richly ornamented robe. Now, if you look at the footnote when we read about that, it tells us that the language is kind of uncertain here. Nobody really knows what this means to say richly ornamented robe. Now, if you're like me, you probably have heard the story as Joseph being given a coat of many colors. Nonetheless, whatever it is, it's a coat that he has been given that singles him out from his brothers, and his brothers do not like it at all. Add to that the fact that Joseph is a dreamer. Joseph tells his brothers of a couple of dreams he has. The first is when they're out binding some sheaves of grain together, and he says, "My sheaf of grain stood up, while yours all bowed down to mine." And that made his brothers angry, obviously. Later, Joseph has another dream that he tells them about. He tells them about the sun, moon, and stars bowing down to him. And as Jacob, his father, hears about it, even though Joseph is his favorite, even Jacob is a little bit incensed and says, "What? Even your mother and father are going to bow down to you along with your brothers?" And so clearly Joseph is not winning friends and influencing people with these dreams. One day when Jacob sends Joseph to check on his brothers see him coming and they plot to kill him. They take off his richly ornamented robe, but instead of killing him, they agree to throw him into an empty pit. They do so. They dip his coat in blood, showing it to their father. They never really lie per se, but they allow their father to be deceived into thinking that Joseph has been killed by some ferocious animal that has attacked him and devoured him. Meanwhile, they decide not to kill Joseph, but a group of Ishmaelite traders come by and they decide to sell Joseph into slavery and have him carried off into the land of Egypt where the Ishmaelite traders are passing. Now it seems that the story is put on hold for just a minute. It seems that Joseph is completely out of the picture. Jacob has mourned for Joseph because he was his favorite, who he now presumes to be dead. And then we get to this little snippet that seems like almost an afterthought, the story of Judah and Tamar. Judah, of course, being the fourth son of Jacob. Judah has some sons by the name of and Onan, and we're told that is wicked, and that's all we're told, and God puts him to death. Interestingly, remember earlier we saw that Enoch walked with God and God translated him into his own presence. Here, just the opposite happens. Is put to death because of his wickedness. And so has died. He has left no offspring for his wife, Tamar. And according to Levirate law, which we'll see over and over again in the Old Testament, it is his brother Onan's duty to sleep with his wife, to bear offspring in the name of his brother so that the family line and the property can be continued. Onan follows through with the Levirate law by sleeping with Tamar, but he is very careful to make sure that he produces no offspring with her. This is a wicked act as well. He violates the law, and so God also puts Onan to death. Now there was a third brother, his name was Shelah, but he's much younger. Judah promises him to Tamar if she'll wait for him to grow older. Time passes, Shelah grows older. Tamar has gone about her mourning, but is waiting for Judah to give her his third son, and Judah never does. Whether this is simply an oversight or what is not made clear. Tamar decides she needs to have children to pass on the family line, and so she deceives Judah himself, her father-in-law. She dresses up as though she is some sort of prostitute. Judah sees her, lies with her, she becomes pregnant. She has, in the process, taken Judah's staff and some other possessions as a pledge that he will pay her with a goat from his flock. Time passes. When Tamar becomes pregnant, Judah becomes very angry and wants her to be put to death. But she says, the father of my child is the one who owns these things, and produces once again Judah's staff. Judah sees, and in his own expression, interestingly enough, says, she was actually more righteous than me because I kept my son Shelah from her. So then we're told about two sons that are born to Tamar by Judah. And it's interesting that this is the actual lineage of the one who is later to become the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God. God continues to work through the mistakes, the sins, the weaknesses of humanity to continue to unfold his plan. Why? Because the story is about God. He is a promise maker, but more importantly, he is a promise keeper. We see this scenario played over and over and over again. I love to find out more and more about the nature and the character of God, don't you? His word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. I hope you have a blessed day.